Right, we should be good to go. I'm not sure if anybody's out there. Right, today let's have a look at creating a Rohan house. I think I mentioned it on the last stream. But again, this is just going to be a test stream. I've done a bit more adjusting to my stream, so I've got a few more settings, a few more camera angles. Hopefully they're roughly pointing in the right place. We're going to be looking into magazine 10 today. So part of this is building a Rohan house, which you can see here. They make it in a different way. I'm going to try come up with my own way. I want to create a few different sort of houses, so I'm going to see if I can come up with a few different designs. Come up with the first template, which is here. So I'm just going to see if this actually works. It looks like it might be a little bit small to start with, but I will give it a go anyway. So I created these templates, and from that I've cut these out, which is quite thick card, quite substantial. This is going to basically form this sort of skeleton of our building. I've not done this yet, so it'll be a bit of test and learn. So I think let's just see what happens. I'll see which camera is best as well, and whether I need to actually adjust these camera angles any. Like this one looks like it's got my hand quite big inside it, but we'll try anyway. Let's switch over. So these are the sides, these are the roofs. This is the front and the back. So I think I'm just going to tape these together and see if we can hold it. Just a bit of masking tape should probably do it. Let's see if this holds. I don't need to be super precise, but and this is just going to be the frame, so hopefully it holds together nicely. If I can adjust these cameras so the middle is the same on each one. I think once we've done this, I'll see if I can texture it with some foam, and we'll do the same for the roof as well. Just see if we can apply some textures. We also don't have any windows yet, but we'll maybe see if we can get those. Might just model the windows like on top of the actual building. I'm really curious to know if this template will work. I created the template in Blender, so I just sort of modelled it up in Blender and then broke it all down, put it into Inkscape, and then that sort of was to form the basics of the building. So I don't actually know if this method's going to work or not. Hi my life and what it brings, nice to see you back again. Been messing around with the settings, so hopefully the camera angle's a little bit better and hopefully the quality as well, but we'll see. Obviously still massively learning how to do these streams. I'm not sure with this roof. I think it's just going to be 45 degrees, so we'll get it close. Should be close enough. I also started these streams because I just wanted to practice talking a little bit when I'm on camera. It's something I'm not massively comfortable about, so I wanted to see if I could get better at it. Okay, so this is sort of holding together, but it's a little bit precarious. Probably nothing an extra bit of tape can't solve. I'm going for something close to this when I've finished, which was like one test model, but I did this out of MDF, and I wanted to see if I could do it out of a cheaper material, so see if I can build an entire Rohan village. Hi Tim, thanks very much. I've just noticed the chat is not updating on the screen. I thought that was supposed to come up, so let me just see if I can fix that. Oh, there we go. That should have updated now. I don't know why it wasn't updated, but hopefully it keeps going. How did you find the stream, Tim? And I know you got painting in your name as well, so I'm assuming you do some painting, presumably miniature painting, or is it full-size painting? Okay, so that's not actually too bad. That's held together nicely. This should make some kind of little porch. I can't remember which bit is which. I think this is for the front. So let's see if we can attach these onto there. Can also probably tell I work in my loft because it's the so my wife can kick me out of the space, so I've got at least got a light and I can let some air in, so if it's a bit noisy it will be probably the traffic outside, but it's far too warm to not have that closed, not have that open, sorry. Okay, so this bit is a little bit harder. I'm already thinking there must be a better way of doing this. So one nice thing about when I did the MDF, it was all sort of stuck together. But maybe it's all part of crafting. I guess we adapt. I think once I get this done, it might stick together okay. And if in doubt, I just put more sellotape on. And a lot of this will be covered up when we move on to applying the foam. This really is just to sort of give us some frame to work off of. Okay, we've got some kind of door which is supposed to fit onto here. Let's just put some extra tape on the sides. If this works out nicely, I'm going to create multiple plans and a bit more instructions on how to create things like stables and a more detailed house. So I wanted to build this as the sort of first simplest version that we can do. Oh, hi Tim. So was it you who I messaged, who commented earlier that you've been working through the magazines with your son? Sorry if I didn't recognise your name. You've done a couple of, you've done the first 3 scenarios, I think. Okay, so that actually has held together much nicer than I was expecting it to hold it together. So let's start with applying a bit more texture to the outside of the walls and see if that adds in some extra rigidity into here. And to do that, I'm going to be using this blue foam that I use quite a lot of. I buy it in this sort of 20 centimetre size blocks, but for this I've really cut it down, so made it really thin, so that we can create individual planks of wood. There's a couple of ways we can go about this. We can either score everything into here and just attach it in one go, which is possible, or we could create individual planks. I tend to like the individual plank route because it makes stuff all different heights. So I think let's give that a go. And when I did my test model, I think I made these planks a little bit too large. I'm just going to see if I can lift this. Adjusting the camera. I think I did these a little bit too large to match a model. So if I get one of my Rohan models out, we can see what they look like. So I think the wood just in scale just looks a little bit wrong. I think we could go for much smaller scale. This chat does not seem to be refreshing when other people refresh. Sorry, I'm just, as I said, this is like a test stream, but it doesn't seem to be updating the chat on my window. Okay, I think that might have done it. So so I think we can do with a slightly smaller scale for this chat, for this wood, sorry. So let's go for, previously I think it was about a centimetre. Each one was a centimetre, so I'm going to adjust and let's go for about half a centimetre and see what that looks like, which we do have marks on here. So it's just going to be a case of we'll slice along here. I could do this on the proxy on actually. So let's see what happens when we do it on here. Yeah, the building height, Tim. Yeah, yes, there will. My life and what it brings. The building height, Tim, I took from the ones you can buy from Games Workshop, because they do sell Rohan buildings, but I think they're about £35 each, and they are quite nice and adaptable. But if you want to build an entire village, I don't know that I can justify what will probably work out to be about 150 quid on plastic buildings. So I thought, let's, along with the magazine, it's worth seeing if I can build multiple different ones. And I think we're going to need quite a lot of these. I'm thinking I should probably texture them before I slice them up. So let's, I'm going to use my wire brush again. This is what I used in the last one. It sort of just applies a bit of texture. So hopefully you can see it adds a bit of interest to the foam quite easily. you can sort of see we've got a few lines in there now. It's not perfect, but it is really quick. You can obviously do that with a pen, but it takes a long time, and I'm trying to work out how we can do these quick. Let's just continue down here. So these are now 5mm planks. Okay, let's see what these look like when we start to stick them on. This should be quite good, I think. Yeah, they're going to be okay. And we can apply some additional texture once they're on the building as well. Let's go. I'm going to use Pritt stick for this one. Something I've been using a lot more of is Pritt stick. It seems to work far better than I was expecting it to work in the first instance. It actually seals with a really nice strength once it's completely dried. And you get a bit of working time with it as well. So if we stick these from the top down, I think we can probably chop them off at the bottom when we need to. These airs and they don't stick at all. Scale on these looks actually a little bit too small now. Maybe I needed 7.5mm. Sure, there's a calculation you can do for the average plank and the scale of the miniatures. Maybe I should do that calculation, and every time I build something I can do it to that scale instead of randomly guessing. This is where if I was making a video I would be pressing speed up now, but since we're live I guess we have to watch it all as I move along here. Maybe we should do one wall and then let's do could maybe paint it and see what it's going to look like so that we don't have to watch the entire process. We could maybe do one side of the roof as well. Must have missed this bit with glue. So Tim, what's the plan? What's your next battle game that you're going to be playing? Well, that wasn't too bad, was it? Let's see if we can use these remaining pieces. Probably not. We're going to all be a little bit too small, I think. So let's just do a few more. This knife is clearly not very sharp. Yeah, here's one I did earlier. Would be good actually, but I guess this is kind of the point of streaming. I guess you stream the entire process, and when I put the videos out, and I've narrowed them down to like 8 minutes, there usually is quite a lot of footage that I have to really take out at this time, and often I also do test builds before I record the footage, trying to get it sort of as good and as smooth as possible. So there's often quite a lot that goes into it, so this really is just the process. I understand this sort of video is not going to be for everyone, but maybe some people will enjoy watching and engaging and learning, I guess, as we move along. It's quite a nice sort of slow-paced hobby sometimes, is crafting anyway, and I think we often want to get stuff done as quick as possible and move on with something else. There's actually just relaxing a little bit and creating some models can be quite a nice experience. I also have to remember I'm on camera, so if you see me picking my nose or something, give me a shout. I won't forget that I'm on there. So you painted 12 high elves. Okay, so remind me, what was the second one? Was it the Hunt of the Urukai? Was it like 12 Urukai versus 12 high elves? Is that the second magazine? I've got lots of little planks. I'm sure we can use these at some point. Okay, so let's have a quick look. That actually looks quite good. I think we can probably texture that up. Let's just see if I can straighten this down a bit. I think I'm going to have to change this blade. It's just ripping. Okay, yeah, actually the scale of those looks much better when it's on. If we just compare it to one of the Rohan warriors, and that scale looks pretty good. So let's actually apply some paint and see what we've got. I'll use this clove brown again. Go to top-down view for a little while. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Use this clove brown again that I often use when I'm creating browns. And I'm just looking for a cheap brush that I don't mind getting ruined. Let's just give these a blast. We're not going to worry about undercoating. I used to undercoat absolutely everything. I didn't want to have anything that didn't have undercoating on. Mainly because every time you watch someone else's videos, they're always like, undercoat everything. If you don't, it's going to fall off in 10 years and you're never going to be able to see it. So I've stopped undercoating things like terrain, and I've had some of that terrain for 2+ years, and the paint is still perfectly adhered to it. So I sort of stopped, and it does save additional time. The second game, oh, the goblins need to get across the battlefield. Oh, okay, yeah. It's not the one. No, it's not the one. I'm trying to think. It was a couple of months ago actually where I finished playing that one. We'll have to have a quick look on my YouTube channel and see what the second one was. Okay, that doesn't look too bad at all. If you're a crafter, you have to have tissue paper around. I don't know how you do anything without the tissue paper. Can you hear the ice cream man? I've got the magazines up here actually. Tim, I might just have a quick look just to remind myself. Or I could just have a quick look on YouTube. Just 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. It wasn't. I didn't run for an ice cream. It was my wife shouting me. I was just going to have a quick look at the second magazine. Okay, it was called The Last Alliance. Oh yeah, okay, I remember it. So did you paint? You say you painted up 12 tiles. Did you get some additional ones? So I think it came with 8. Mine didn't it? Let's give this a quick blast with a hairdryer. Looks pretty dry. Okay, let's give that a dry brush because I do actually think that's going to look quite good. It's one of these things with crafting. It always sort of suddenly comes together. You get this point where you hate it and you think it's not going to work, and then all of a sudden everything seems to just work and it looks much better. So as always, we are dry brushing. Maybe let's switch to the other camera, it might pick up better. So I definitely like this look where you cut each individual plank. It just adds like so much variation in depth, where I think if you sort of took a flat piece like this and you just did the wood across in lines, you wouldn't get this like really nice effect of different depths on each one, and the gaps between each one are slightly different, and some are a bit wonky. And I think it just adds like so much to the look of the wood. If we compare that to the previous test version, I think this smaller wood definitely looks better. Definitely looks more realistic. This looks a little bit cartoony. This looks quite realistic actually. I wonder if we can go a bit heavier. And it might be nice to apply some different shades to each of the wood. That could be something we could do. Okay, so you bought the whole set. You were was it an eBay job or a marketplace? Oh, it can never be a bad thing having doubles. I think I've currently got about 40 Urukai. I think the next magazine 10 is another 12 Urukai to go with the 12 that it already gave me in another magazine. And I've got another box of them that I bought myself before I got the magazines. So I could definitely put a full army together. Let's leave that there. I am tempted to put just some different shades of greens and browns on there. So I might get some shades. I've got some Athonian camo shade here that will add a bit of green to it. Bealtown green. That's going to be quite green, I think. I must have some Nuln oil in here. I've got some Nuln oil. That's always going to be good. And then I need some Agrax Earthshade, which I think is somewhere else. So just bear with me 1 second. Okay, I've just been to find my Agrax Earthshade, which is 100% my favourite shade. I just love to put it on everything. Okay, Tim, Marketplace, yeah. I mean, I bought some stuff from Marketplace, and it is a great way of meeting people, and you often get stuff that you didn't want. I think the last time I ordered something, I ended up with this, which I didn't want. I actually wanted just the paints, but I ended up getting this. This dreadnought, which I did have an original metal dreadnought, which I think is nicer. This is just insane, the amount of detail they put on these things now. It needs a bit of shading, really, a bit of depth adding to this, but it's not too bad. But I got that without any real... I would never have bought it, so it was quite fun doing a bit of a Space Wolves one. So I think I'm just going to apply a few different sort of colours to these planks. We don't have to do anything too crazy. Let's just sort of see what it looks like, I guess. Make a few random planks. I might have to reapply the dry brush. I think Bealtown green is going to be very bright. If we can apply it and then just a little bit of water just to soften it a little bit. Just do a couple of Null Oil, which used to be my favourite one. Does anybody use Null Oil and then got the sort of newer, I say newer, it's probably about 2 years ago now, they changed the recipe for the Null Oil. They said they made it better, but I think I preferred the old Null Oil. This new one, while it seems to run better, it just doesn't seem to give the same depth that the last one gave. And now my favourite of all the shades, which is Agraf Oak shade. I would probably put this on everything if I could. I don't know why I like it so much, but it just seems to make everything look better. Let's just water some of that down, make it a little bit softer. Okay. I guess what do we think with these different colours on? Might need to dry it so we can see what it looks like without that shine. You can literally watch paint dry now. Okay, so I guess do we think this looks better with the shades on? Personally, it's hard to tell on camera. Personally, I think it looks a bit better, but some of the green is a bit too green. So I think let's try, if we try to unify that together with a very light brushing. Yeah, so I think I've got an old pot somewhere, Tim. But I went and bought the newer pot not so long ago. And then they've all got mixed up now. I'm just going to do a super light brushing, I think, just to lift these planks back up. I don't want to cover the colour too much. No, I usually get reference images, but I've not actually got any reference images. I'm sort of working from what I think a Rohan building looks like, but it probably doesn't look like this. It's a wooden building, I guess. Yeah, I think that looks fine. It looks better. Adds the extra colours, adds that like little bit of extra interest into the. So again, rather than continuing all the way around, why don't we look to do the roof? We'll cover making some thatch with wood. Sorry, with foam. I think I'm just going to apply some tape into here. what do we think about this new setup? I've been trying to get a setup where I can switch quickly between cameras, and I can like turn these on and off. I can also turn the small one off if we don't want those, so we can just sort of focus in. I'm hoping it gives us some better angles so we can really see what's going on. Yeah, the paint takes perfect on foam. It's particularly this emulsion seems to go really well. I did try some different emulsion, which was Dulux emulsion, which didn't go quite as well, but the matte emulsion works really good. Okay, good. I'm glad you like it. I did. I've put a little bit of effort and into getting it so it works nicely. I'll bring the small camera back in. So what we're going to do now is create a thatch on the roof, and I did test some different methods previously. I put on my Instagram, and I ended up really liking the sort of foam version. So I'm going to take you through how I created that foam version now. Which, here's one I did earlier. This is the sort of look that we're going for. I think this sort of looks really nice. It looks like thatch, and it doesn't take a long time to do. And to do that, we're just going to cut 4 strips of this. And so if we measure, let's do some quick maths. Okay, so that's 6. I want to divide that by 4, and I want a 1 centimetre overhang on each one. It should be 2 centimetres each. What can we get out of this? 7. Use this slightly. We can get a few out of this, so let's cut these to 2 centimetre lengths. Yeah, I've got templates for those beams. I'm tempted with the horses' heads to create some 3D models that I can print on the 3D printer rather than sculpting them out of foam, just because I think it might be easier for people to do. But the last ones I just did on MDF and then carved them down. I think I need to use a better cutting mat than this. I can't tell if I'm on the same line or not. That's pretty close actually. Okay, thanks Tim. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. So it was something with the live streaming. It was just something I wanted to see. Like, does anybody even want to watch it? And I often find myself modelling anyway, so I thought I could start to live stream it. It'll give me a chance to practice and a chance to engage with everybody as well. I really am thankful for everybody who subscribes and watches the channel, and I get to meet additional people. It's really nice actually joining, and this gives me that opportunity to have a little bit of back and forth between anybody who sort of wants to join. So we've got the 4 pieces now. What we're going to do is turn this into some kind of thatch, and again I'm going to use this wire brush. This seems to work really well. It messes up all the ends, so I'm just going to hopefully not destroy my fingers, but just pull down, and we're just going to keep pulling down and let it sort of almost get all the way through the foam, and you can see we end up with this. Let me switch camera and see if we can see on here. You end up with all these lines in the foam, and you end up with this like broken edge along the top, which gives it just that sort of extra depth and detail, which ones painted up look really good. And I did try some other methods and they took a very, very long time, and I personally don't think looked quite as good, whereas this actually works quite nice, and it doesn't take ages to do. Let's just quickly do 4 of these and we'll stick them on with Pretty Stick, which I have to say, and I think I've said a few times before already, I have to say Pretty Stick I think has been severely underrated. I think it's because we all used it in primary school, so you sort of think it's not a proper glue, but I've been using it more and more with terrain and it just works so well. It's really quick to use, really quick to apply, it's really cheap, and you get a bit of working time. So that should be good enough, and then we're just going to layer these up like this on top of the roof, and it should give us a pretty nice look. I'm just going to clean this up if I can reach my little vacuum. This has very quickly become essentially my loft for picking up all sorts of rubbish, particularly after doing static grass or something. Like you definitely need something that can just get rid of it. Yeah, absolutely, Tim. It does seem to be really underrated. I mean, I've ended up with every sort of glue. Mod Podge is obviously up there, but I think it just works really nicely. So anyway, I won't go on about Pretty Stick for too long, unless I want to sponsor the live stream. Maybe I can contact them and see. Maybe I need a few more viewers before Pretty Stick will sponsor me, but you never know. So we're probably going to want a bit of an overhang on here, so that we sort of hide the tops of these and we get a little bit of an overhang. Let's go. Let's just do it. See what happens. The more I'm looking at the wood, the more I'm actually really liking that effect. I wonder if we can. I wasn't planning on making a base for them, but I wonder if a small base would look nice where you could add some dirt texture around it. Maybe we could build I could add something where we could build a little fence around and then add some barrels and stuff. Just some sort of small details. Okay, which one of these do I prefer? Maybe the one with the thinnest edge for the bottom, since it's sticking out. Let's go with this one, and that's what I'll have it hang over on each side. That looks pretty good. Guess I want it relatively square. I wonder if it's worth adding a bit of glue to each one as we're going up, and then it'll stick to the other piece underneath. So let's do that as well. I'm hoping 4 pieces is enough. If not, I clearly calculated wrong at the start. We'll also need to come up with an interesting way of dealing with the top. Maybe I can just make some sort of foam cap or something that we can just put across the top. So I think that looks pretty good. Let's get this Stanley knife, which I might have to change the blade if this, because it's just going. I think it's just going to cut these off. I'm not sure if I've got any additional blades to hand. I do have some additional blades. See if I can do this without cutting myself. If you can see just on my knuckle there, that did get cut my knuckle off down to the bone with a Stanley knife blade. And I still very rarely learn my lesson. I still use them incorrectly. I'll put that in the bin properly. What's the best way of chopping this? Maybe switch the camera so you're not just staring at my arm. Should we just go for a slice it down? It's done it nicely. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think making a V shape. I wonder if this would bend, or if it would. Oh no, it does bend actually. If we switch cam again, it does bend nicely. So we probably could do that and then just stick that down. I think that's a really good idea. Right, how do I do this one now that that's over there? Badly. Okay, there we go. I think that looks pretty good. So I guess let's paint now as well. So we need to decide what paint to use, and I cannot remember what I use for this. It looks very Zandri dusty. Could be something like Zandri dust, which I will have to find. I don't particularly like using my craft paints, sorry, my miniature paints to do this, because it just uses a lot of the paint to do a small area. But I definitely need some paint. Right, just bear with me a second while I go get my pot of paints. Okay, I'm back. I've brought my paints over with me. I keep them all relatively tidy. I have just brought my box though. Let's have a look what we've got. And I'll switch to top cam. So I need something like, it probably is very much like a Zandri dust, isn't it? Like gives it this sort of yellowish natural colour. Maybe we highlight that up. We could just highlight that up actually with this, with the usual one. We could do with some depth as well. So maybe we can add. We could add a wash afterwards, but that could be expensive. I'm just going to check my Vallejo paints as well. This yellow ochre actually is, it looks a little bit green here on the camera, but that actually might create a nice highlight as well. We've got a couple of options here. I don't know if anybody has got an opinion on which of these I think would look best. Quite like the idea of using the khaki. It's not dissimilar to the khaki is not dissimilar to the Zandri dust. Everything looks a little bit green on the camera. I'm not sure if it looks green for you, but they're not that green, so you might not be able to help me pick. I think let's go with the khaki because I've got a bit more of that one. Let's go with that, and we'll highlight that up. Should use one of these lovely little flower. Not sure how much of this paint we're going to need. I have got one of those paint shakers somewhere. I don't know if anybody's seen them and been tempted to buy one, the Vortex shakers. I never really got into using it. It seemed to not mix it up particularly well. Try and see if I can find it, but I can't see it in my drawers. We're back to the manual, just shake it yourself. So I think one thing we're learning here is I should probably decide what colours I'm using before I come on stream, and then you don't have to watch me shaking paint pots and finding a colour that I want to use. So this, has anybody seen these? Which is supposed to be for like mixing your paints up nicely for you. I'm not sure whether it does a good job or if it just vibrates the same pieces of paint backwards and forwards. Yeah, you're right. I do need to. I do want to expand on my colour range, but I've only been using the browns and the greys and the white for highlighting. So I do probably need to buy one that I can do more of this sort of colour with. So let's mix this up with some water, thin it down a little bit. Probably made a bit too much there, but it would have been okay if we were doing the entire building, but we'll see what happens. So actually it would probably have been better using my hairbrush. Probably would have used less paint. Interesting to see with the blue underneath and the yellow on top, whether it gives it a sort of greenish hue once it's dried, if this doesn't coat fully. And again, we're going to dry brush this up afterwards, where hopefully it will help pick up some of this detail. And I might do a double dry brush. I might do a dry brush and then a wash and then a dry brush again. We could probably use a thin wash. One thing I've been doing as well actually for big washes is using contrast paints, because they're much more heavily pigmented. So actually for a wash like this, they wash really well. They seem to have all the flow properties of an actual wash, but with higher pigments. But they are very expensive, the contrast paints. So you're definitely paying for that additional pigment. Okay, I'm pretty sure I got precisely the right amount of paint. We'll have to work out what we do with these ends. Maybe once we get to these ends over here, maybe once we get to there, we'll cover those up with some bigger wooden planks, and we will also actually have these ends that I created. We'll go over here. These ones, which I think we'll work out how we make a thin piece of cardboard look a bit nicer shortly. Okay, so that's not bad and really quick to do. So let's maybe dry that, give it a highlight and see what it looks like. Just going to clean this palette out. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I am actually a developer / coder, normally systems, so I am quite good at coding and building my own things. I've done a number of things in my real life, in my working life. But thank you, yeah, I appreciate that. The website itself does need a bit of an update. I stopped updating it because I've got limited time, so I ended up stopping updating it while I sort of spend more time on videos. Okay, it looks a little lopsided for some reason. I think it might have been the way I held the wire brush. Which Rohan, wind's been blowing this direction on it for the last 30 years, so it's just gone a little bit sideways. So I think that looks quite good. Let's give that a highlight and see if it brings it more to life. Yeah, and with the just painting over the material with no primer, it is like one of the biggest savings in time that you can do. Like I did say earlier, everybody thinks you need to prime everything. And obviously I would say prime your miniatures, you can't paint direct onto the plastic, although some people argue you can paint direct onto plastic. But I think you do tend to see the paint sliding around if you try that, whereas primer allows it to stick a lot better. But for terrain, I've never had any problem painting direct onto this stuff. The only exception to that I would probably say is resin prints, because some paint doesn't stick nicely to that. But again, I think it's paint dependent. This paint that I'm using now seems to stick really well to everything. Hopefully you can see that starting to pick up the detail. Looks like we can be a bit heavier handed with this dry brush versus the previous one. And it's a very natural product, obviously, it's thatching, so you can afford for it to look not uniform. If it goes too uniform, it doesn't look good at all. And I forgot to wipe that off, so that's definitely going to be a problem. Let's see if we can work that in. Hopefully my Life and What It Brings idea of creating a little thing over the top of here will help me hide that when we get to it. I think that's actually looking good if we ignore my mistake there of directly applying paint. I'm not sure that it does need a wash, other than it might give it a bit less uniformity in its shading. And we could do it anyway. So let's just find a contrast paint. Something like a Gotha brown probably will do. It's really dark brown, but we're going to water it down quite a lot. Let's take a couple of scoops of those. Lost my shade brush somewhere. There we go. This is my shade brush that I got from Citadel, which Games Workshop, is stupid money, and it's just a really cheap brush. I bought all Games Workshop brushes when I started and regret every single purchase of a Games Workshop brush, with the exception of the dry brush was quite nice. But I switched over to these makeup brushes, and they're considerably better than the Games Workshop brush, so just don't buy Games Workshop brushes, that's all I can say. They're definitely not going to sponsor me now, but the brushes are terrible. And let's really make this into a wash. I'm going to go really thin for this, and we're just going to slap it all over. I'm going to try focus more on the top. I mean, you probably don't even know if you can see it, but it's soaking in, and it's just sort of taking on a slightly different colour wherever we put in this really thin wash. I don't know, with the fact that I've got cardboard underneath here, that this is going to be a problem. So I think we could probably say that that roof is done like that, although I'm tempted to give it a bit of a stronger dry brushing. I think that looks quite good. Hopefully you like that method of creating the thatch. I think it just looks really good, and it just takes no time at all to actually create that effect. So we've sort of done the majority of what we need to do to create a sort of look. We need to just sort of continue that around the rest of the building now. We might be able to, on here, do a bit more of a design. So maybe we can look at the horse's head next. We could sort of create one of those and have a look how we can do that. So this one, if I show you sort of my reference one that I created, these are just MDF that I cut out on my laser printer. My laser cutter. And these actually came out really nice just with a dry brushing and sort of messing up the edges. But I wanted a way that other people can do the same thing, and I don't think it's necessarily practical that everybody can do that. So I think we can take this, which is just done on cardboard, but you can just print it onto paper, and let's see if we can cut it out of a bit of foam and just do a little bit of carving on it. See what happens. So I think should we just try it? Like I said, I've not done it, so I'm learning along with you guys here. But I think we can. This will probably work. This might be a little bit too thick. In scale wise, it's going to be quite thick. Could use a slightly thinner piece maybe. It fits on. Close enough. So let's just use this as a template. I'm not sure if that just tore underneath there, which is probably not going to work out great for us. Yeah, pretty sure that did. So let's go for the thicker piece and we'll trim it down. I've never had to carve like this in foam before, so I'm not 100% sure of the best way of doing it. Maybe it's just a downwards sawing motion until you get all the way through. Maybe it's do it roughly and then come back in afterwards. No idea. I guess it's my hand just completely in the way of any filming now. Probably tell by the way I'm using a knife that it's completely understandable that I would cut off my knuckle. So maybe don't follow knife technique from me. Let's see what we've got. Oh, we've got something close. We can work with this, I think. We've lost a little bit of the detail, and there could possibly be an argument that actually just roughing these edges up, just to add some additional sort of wood texture in, would be to scale actually. I'm almost talking myself into it now, because this card itself is quite thick. let's stick with this plan. So what is the plan? Make it look more like a horse. I think let's carve off some of the edges so that it looks more like sawn wood. Would probably be a good start. Don't want these sharp edges. I think I need a new knife in here as well. Very blunt. Is anybody else online that wants to say hello? It's been Tim and my life and what it brings. It'd be nice to hear from anybody else who's sat there watching, even if it's just hello. You don't have to fully talk. It's just nice for me to know if you're here and anything that you're enjoying about the stream or wish I was doing differently. I'm not always open to feedback. I am actually just trying to create and enjoy the best things I can. I think I've probably learned that I need to be a little bit more prepared, so I can. I've tried to get slightly prepared today, but I wasn't fully prepared. I can probably be more prepared in the future, so I've got all my paints and all the tools and stuff that I need, which would probably save a little bit of time. If we can zoom this camera in a little bit. Definitely not a carver of wood. The bone is definitely hitting my limit. He wants to say hello. Oh, that's cool, Luke. Yeah, that's really nice. It is a fun thing to try. I'm somewhere between enjoying it and really frustrated, which I guess that is part of hobbying as well. If you've painted any miniatures at all, Luke, with your dad, you will know the frustration of trying to paint and your paint hits on the wrong piece of the model. This foam, I think I've just blunted this knife already. It's just not cutting through it very nice. Do a full shape of the sides of wood ones. Yeah, I sort of understand what you're saying. Yeah, okay, so you're saying you're saying you would do this bit first and then carve the horse's heads and stick those on top. Can do that. I think if you look in the movies, it looks like it's all one piece, which is one of the reasons I went all one piece. But I think let's see where we get to with this, because like I say with crafting, it often looks worse before it gets better. And if it looks really bad, I'll 3D model them and print them. I mean, it's questionably a horse right now, right? Like, I'm not entirely sure what this is. It's not quite got the same smoothness to it as the wooden one. I'll tell you what we'll do though. Let's give it some texture. Let's give it a quick paint. Let's stick it onto the house, and then we've sort of covered everything we need to do to make the houses, and then I can design the remainder. So I want to do some additional sort of size houses. Can do the remainder and then see where we're at. So let's give this some texture again with the old wire brush technique. You can definitely be more precise with this wood grain texture, and some people will be. I do have a desire to do things to a certain sort of standard while still being able to do them quickly. So that's why I often try to find little techniques like that that allow me to sort of speed up the process. Like you can sit and you can draw all the wood texture onto every piece of wood. And you do get a nice look, although sometimes it can be quite cartoony and rigid. It also takes a really long time to do, and most people are quite busy and don't really have 4 hours to sit doing wood grain. So I do try my best to find simple techniques. Let's get that vacuum cleaner out again. Yeah, I mean, hiding your mistakes is one of the key things, I think, particularly with painting miniatures. I often do base coats, and then once I've finished that, I go back around and tidy every other little bit that I need to up, because your base coats have got onto everything else. And then you finally paint some eyes, and you end up with it half over the face. And Tim, you'll know these miniatures are very small. Whenever I paint a Warhammer figure, I'm like, these figures feel massive. So it's really, it is really difficult with the Lords of the Rings miniatures. But we'll see where we get. It'll probably look better with some paint and on the house, because we are doing miniature details. Maybe this one. Let's say this house was done by an apprentice. He hadn't quite learned how to carve wood yet, but he was training with a master who was also not particularly good. Let's just say that, and that's why this particular house doesn't have the best carving. Should try remember to check my camera angles ever so often. So this work that I'm doing now is for magazine 10, so I've just finished the recording for magazine 9. The live stream I did the other day was just finishing off the beacon for magazine 9. So this is my test for magazine 10. So magazine 9, I will be working on the editing after this live stream, so I can bring some of those videos next week. So I've got the painting done and the terrain done, and the battle game will come next. So I'm trying to fit everything in, but I'll get the painting video out hopefully tomorrow. It is bank holiday weekend, so it's possible it'll come out Monday. It's definitely weathered. It's not that a bit of paint can't solve, right? We'll just keep putting more paint on, and then just hold it further away. Okay, I think we're pretty good on that. I think we can agree. It looks better now. Now that it's not blue. It's forgivable. Let's give this a dry and then let's dry brush it. We'll see what it looks like, and then I think we'll probably call the stream done at that point. Hairdryer. Too hot. I think that's good. Looks good to me. Let's give this a dry brush again. Just going to zoom this back out just a touch. There we go. Well, as I'm finishing this up, I do really appreciate my life and what it brings, and Tim for joining in and joining the chat. Just a few people here actually. I really enjoy that sort of bit of backwards and forwards, and being able to just talk things out and I guess practice and learn a few things. So really thank you very much for joining me on stream. I'll continue to do more streaming, I think, since I've gone to the I've got a lot of this set up, and we'll just see how it goes really. I think I'll get better and better as we do these streams, and I'll look to bring some sort of interactive elements into the stream as well. I am a developer, so I'll probably develop something with the YouTube API and see if I can get some interesting things happening in the stream, sort of reactions to your chats and messages. Maybe we can build some sort of quiz into here, which will track your score throughout the stream. I think that might be quite a fun thing to do. So I'll see if I can do some coding over the next week or so and bring some of that to the stream. Sorry, I might have just done all that dry brushing off camera. I actually think, I mean, it's not bad, right? I mean, you can tell it's the horse's head. It's giving Rohan vibes. So let's have a look and see what this sort of looks like when we put it up to the building. Thank you both. That's really nice to hear. I must say, I really appreciate that. I mean, I don't think that's bad. Let's see if I can switch it to the other camera. I think we're looking okay there. Let me just see if I can zoom out a bit. I think once we get all the additional wood onto here, I'm really pleased with the scaling of this wood now. I think it looks considerably better. I think the roof looks great. I think the carving's got work to be done, but it's not too bad. I think once we get all this additional carving done, wood done, and the roof, I think we're probably going to have a pretty nice looking simple Rohan house. So what I'll do is I'll continue all this off stream, and I've learnt some lessons that I can take forward for the next one. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope to see you again. Have a great bank holiday weekend. Tim, enjoy playing with Luke. Maybe see if Luke can craft a nicer horse head than me. If he does, take a picture and send it to me. I think you can contact me on my website. So yeah, just send it through. I'd love to see if Luke manages to get something going. Thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you next time.